You raise a good point. I think only 3 states, if I'm correct, have actual laws regarding in extreme heat how much a worker can be exposed. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's
I
three.
think
I'm not.
three,
There
and then
might
there's
be a fourth
there's
one,
there's
but
three others that I think sort of have particular conditions, but still, the majority of U.S. states, there's nothing stopping an employer from saying, "Well, I don't care if it's 120 degrees, 110 degrees, you've got to get the job done."
exactly. And there's been a OSHA has the federal administration has been working on a heat standard for years. They haven't done it yet. It's this exact kind of thing that caused the death of a farm worker that I write about in my book in
Mm-hmm.
Oregon during the 2021 heat wave, because he was faced, like a lot of outdoor workers are faced with the decision of, if I take a water break or a shade break, I'm afraid I'm going to get fired. I can't afford to get fired, so I'm going to keep working. And he ended up dead.
Mm-hmm. You know, the evolution of your own thinking, you've been covering these issues for 20 years. The point you're at now, even the reaction to this book, um, give me some sense of sort of where your focus is as you're looking at, what's around the corner. Are there particular innovations that interest you? Are there particular conversations, even models that you found? You mentioned the siesta, like there's a certain, cultures that have long dealt with heat know how to deal with it. But what else is on your radar that you would put on ours as ways to deal with this?
Well, what I'm sort of most inspired by, and one of the things that gives me, as I said, I'm kind of very hopeful, even though I think that we're going to go through a time of enormous suffering and change. But I think also I'm very hopeful about what's going on, is how the conversation in general is changing. The reception of my book has been great, and I think that's emblematic of people are at the point now where they want to learn more and they want to think more about this. 20 years ago, when I first started writing about climate change and energy issues, I joke sometimes that it was like I was writing about the sex life of porcupines. It was something that
Mm-hmm.
like nobody cared about and just thought was sort of cute and weird. And now it's the center of every conversation that I have, and the people that I meet. Everybody wants to know, where should I live? How should I invest? What do I do in the heat? What do I tell my kids? Should I have kids? Should I not? It's become so much a part of everybody's conversation. And that is what's really great, because that, I think, is going to inspire a lot of creativity, a lot of people thinking differently. I meet architects all the time who are thinking about building buildings in a completely different way, so they don't need to use air conditioning, using natural circulations, like like architects used to know how to do 500 years ago. People built amazing structures in the Middle East without air conditioning. Even here in Texas, you can see, it wasn't like Texas was a ghost town prior to the arrival of air conditioning. There are these dog trot houses that have, natural ventilation and things like that. So there's a lot of rethinking about that. I think, I see what's happening in cities like Paris, where they're really changing the character of the inner city, building a lot more green space, pushing cars out, allowing much more access for bicycles, a much more kind of connected to nature kind of city in this incredibly beautiful, uh, capital of civilization. I see them restoring, this 1,500-year-old aqueduct in Athens to bring water into the center of Athens so there can be more parks and greenery. I just think there's so many inspired solutions happening out there on every level and in every place, that all you have to do is open your eyes and look for it and talk to people, and you will see it. And that is what gives me a lot of hope.